the truth of the absolute, and his mind is fixed on the supreme personality of Godhead. Let me repeat again. The influence of the material nature cannot harm an enlightened soul, even though he is engaged in the material activities, because he knows the truth of the absolute, and his mind is fixed on the supreme personality of Godhead. So I'll not go into the purport. I'll start the class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agyantiramdasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshururmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vanshakalpatruvaisya Kripa Sindhu Eva cha Patitanam Panavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada, Jai Guru. So before we go into this today's shlok, let's understand that a little background to this. What is the conversation going on? So in this Canto 3, the chapter 27, interestingly, it is mentioned in the chapter name is understanding the material nature, and there is a conversation which is going on between Kapila Muni and Devahuti. Now, for the just for the benefit of the people who are new to the Bhagavatam, so Devahuti, she was actually married to Kadamma Rishi, Kadamma Muni, and their son is Kapila Muni. Now, Kapila Muni is none other than the Lord himself. And Kapila Muni, like his father, he has taken a sannyas and is about to leave the house. And before he leaves the house, his mother inquires from her about the spiritual knowledge. So there's the entire topic which goes on. There's like a conversation, and she's putting across a lot of questions to Kapila Muni. And her questions are very much similar to that of Arjuna, who was asking to Krishna before the battle of Kurukshetra began, in which Krishna spoke the entire Bhagavad Gita. Now, just before this verse, so a couple of verses before this one, Devahuti asked very interesting question to Kapila Muni. So her first question she asks Kapila Muni is that does this material nature can release the spirit soul from its clutches? So Krishna's energy is actually divided into three parts. Okay, the first is his spiritual energy, then the marginal energy, which is the living souls, the soul which is the marginal potency, and the Krishna's material energy, which is Maya. So she's asking a very interesting question: is that can the conditioned soul can ever be released from the clutches of Maya? And why she's asking that? In fact, in Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita himself said, Daiva Isha Maya Maya Durudati. So it's very difficult to get out of this material nature. So she is posting this question to Kapila Muni, that is it possible for a soul to release from this material nature? And then she posed another very interesting question. Actually, it's a subset of the previous question. She asks that since one is attracted to another, so she's saying as the conditioned soul is attracted to the material nature or the Maya, and eternally they are, they are existing eternally. So, okay, I'll go a little slow. So, Hare Krishna Mataji, this is chapter, the Canto 3, Shlok 20, chapter 27, Shlok 26. Okay. So, the second question Devahuti asks Kapila Muni is that since one is attracted to another, so can they be separable? Can we separate the material energy from the conditioned soul? Now, why she is asking this question? And she gives certain synonyms. She says that the way the earth fragrance cannot be separated from the earth, the way the heat cannot be separated from the fire, then how is it the soul can be separated from the material nature? And Prabhupada writes in his purport, he says that when the soul, so okay, sorry, am I audible? Because I am getting the message that the volume is low. So I'm not sure because my volume is full. So
Probably you can go on with the lecture. We'll take care of the
okay,
problem. Yeah, please go on.
sure. So she asks that is it possible for separation? And then and Prabhupada writes in his purport that the way when the body and the soul leaves the body, what happens to the body? The body disappears. It actually, so it gets disappears. So when the person dies, what happens to the body? Body is not left the way it is. It starts deteriorating, and eventually it is vanished. So she's saying that the material body as it is can be vanished. And then she says, when the soul leaves the body, nobody can perceive the soul. Can anybody see the soul? No, it's not possible. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, what is the size of the soul? So when we when we take the tip of our hair and then we cut it into 100 pieces, that is the size of the soul. So no microscope in this world can actually perceive the soul. And fundamentally, this is a problem which we are seeing in this material world. Why nobody believes in the soul? Like, although all the religions across the world, they talk about the soul, but the fact is the people talk about the soul only when the person dies. And everybody, when the person dies, what we say, let his soul or let her soul rest in peace. But when the person was alive, nobody talks about the soul. Why? Because it is not perceived. So people say that one I cannot see, I don't believe in it. So she's saying that can it be separable? Because when the material body and the soul are together, then only you can see life. So there is a proof. So the proof of life is the soul and the material nature has to be together. Otherwise, they cannot coexist in their isolation. So she is posing these questions to Kapila Muni. And to this, Kapila Muni says that yes, the soul can come out of this material nature and soul can be separated from the clutches of Maya. And he says it is only possible when the soul is dedicated to doing a spiritual activity or is Krishna conscious. And he says when the soul cultivates the Krishna consciousness and performs his actions for pleasing the Lord, then it is only possible for the soul to get liberated and come out of this Maya. And Kapila Muni then further explains in the further shlokas, he says the problem happens is that in this material world, there are, when the soul enters into this material world, when it conditions, the conditioned soul enters into material world, there are actually two kind of diseases. This material world, the soul suffers in this material world. So the first set of people, he talks about basically about the karmis. So he says there are people who are karmis who are interested in getting the resources of the Lord, who wants the access to the resources of the Lord, but they don't want Lord in their life. And actually, if you see around the world, we see that people are interested in the material, they are interested in the resources of the Lord, and they are not interested in the Lord. So, not to speak, what to speak about the people, even the countries. So, if you look back into our last century, the people initially used to fight wars for what? For piece of land. Ultimately, land belongs to the Lord. But what they used to think is, if I get the land, then I'll be more powerful, I'll be more rich. Then gradually we saw that the wars happened because of oil. Why? Because the country which has oil can dominate the world. And today and near future, then the people will be fighting over the water, because the water is now going to be it's a blue oil. That is what they say, because of the scarcity of drinking water. So Kapil Muni says that the first set of people who are karmis, they want to enjoy the Lord. And then the second set of people, they want to be with the Lord. They want to get merged with the existence of the Lord. So they are not interested in the resources of the Lord, but their goal of life is to get merged with the Lord. So he says that both the set of people don't understand that this material world is like blazing fire. So he says this material world is like blazing fire, and the spirit soul, the conditioned soul, is like wood. Now, normally, Prabhupada writes in his purport, the wood also conserves fire in it, right? So many times you see in the forest, there are fires, there is wildfire. Nobody goes and ignites fire there. But because of the fiction, the fire which is conserved within the wood, it ignites. But the problem is when the fire ignites within the wood, it also consumes the wood. And that is exactly our position in the people of this material world, that they want to, first of all, they want to become the lord of the world. So they go behind the resources of the Lord, and ultimately they themselves get consumed by them, because ultimately the material energy is of the Lord. And then there are the other set of people who are not interested in enjoying the material world and the resources of the Lord, but they want to get merged with the Lord. Now, the problem for them, and it's right, in Kapila Muni mentions that they want, their aspiration is to get liberated and get merged with the Brahma Jyoti, or the affluence, the effulgence which is coming out from the Lord's body. They want to get merged with it. The problem is that even if they get merged with the Brahma Jyoti of the Lord, but after that they will do what? Because there is no direct service to the Lord. They cannot serve the Lord in that position. So Kapil Muni, then he says that the real position of the soul of the Jivatma is that he has to be servant of the Lord, and only through the process of devotional service. And he says that through chanting, to hearing. So, Shravanam, Kirtanam. And when we follow this process of the process of devotional service, then only this soul can actually can be get liberated and can come out of the clutches of everything. And then in this today's shlok, which we just spoke, he talks about the two very important characteristics of the soul. In this, if you see the shlok, the word Mai Mayam, that is the mind, the one who surrenders to the mind. And then the second word he describes in this verse is called Atma Ramasya. So what is mean by Man Mayasya? Mai Manasam. So he says the characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord is that he has surrendered his mind to the Lord. And in fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, the same instruction Krishna tells to Arjuna. He says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto. Surrender your mind to me, Arjuna. So the first characteristic, or the very important characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord, is that he has to surrender his mind to the Lord. And then he says, the devotees of the Lord are Atma Ramasya. So Atma Ram, and Prabhupada writes in his purport, he says, what is Atma Ramasya? Atma Ramasya means that the one who rejoices within the self. So what he means by one who rejoices within the self, now, ultimately the soul's characteristic is that we are all Satchidanand. We all want happiness. Nobody in the world wants, distress. Everybody wants to seek happiness. Now, there are two sets of people here. So one is the people who are materialistic people, and the second people who are Krishna conscious. Now, the material people or the material conscious people, their source of happiness is what? Their source of happiness is senses. Because they think the moment I'm able to enjoy the senses, my mind will be happy. Ultimately, the headquarters of all the mind, of all the senses, is mind. And mind is actually compared to an ocean. The reason mind is compared to the ocean is like the way the ocean is very vast. And one thing in ocean is unlimited. I mean, we can still, measure the water in the ocean, but one thing which we cannot measure is the waves of the ocean. And what does this waves of the ocean signifies? The waves of the ocean signifies the desires which are coming in our mind, unlimited desires. And the problem is when the unlimited desire keeps on coming and coming and coming, we are channelizing our senses that let's enjoy more and more, because my mind is not getting satisfied, because the desires are not getting satisfied. So there we are channelizing our senses. So eyes wants to see beautiful object. We cannot say that, oh, today I saw a very nice movie. Now tomorrow I'm not going to see. Does the mind say no? In fact, if you see a good movie in the morning, the mind will create, then now let's watch another movie after that. Because why wants to see something nice? The ears wants to listen to the nice music. Nobody wants to we should not say that today I'll listen to nice music, tomorrow I'll not do. The tongue wants to taste the most palatable things. So even if I give you chapan bhog today to eat, and then tomorrow there is a fasting, immediately, we make faces. Because why? His mind is not satisfied with the chapan bhog. He wants to eat chapan bhog every single day. That is the tendency of the mind. And today we are all we are all sitting in an isolation or in quarantine situation, because one city in the world wanted to have their satisfy their tongue, and then they wanted to enjoy the delicacies of the nature. And as a result, so they went and they enjoyed, and today they got corona for all of us. So the problem is that this mind, when we're trying to enjoy through senses in this material world, we are actually not getting any happiness. In the contrary, we are getting only miseries. So even if we try to enjoy, because this body of us, which is a gross body and the subtle body, is actually a perfect instrument to get pain. Our body is a perfect instrument to get pain. And you can see that, of course, when you turn older and things, we have physical problems, we have problems of the body, but more importantly, they have problems within the mind. The mind is actually the place of disaster. The mind is so much, indulged into so much of wrongful things that is always in the misery state. And today, when we have seen people who actually commit, having all the opulence in the world, and they have physically they are perfectly fit, but still they will go commit suicide, or they will indulge into drugs, they will indulge into intoxication. Why? Because there is a mental disease which is happening. So sum and substance is that the materialistic people, when they're trying to enjoy the world through the senses and through the mind, they are only getting miseries. But what about the Atma Ramasya? And that is a characteristic of us of a devotee. For the devotee, the source of happiness is not the senses. The source of happiness is the soul. Now the question comes: if the soul is the source of happiness, then does the soul has senses? And the answer to that, yes, the soul has spiritual senses. Now the other question is that then does the soul has a body, right? Because if it has a body but we cannot perceive it, the answer to that, yes, the soul has spiritual body and it has spiritual senses. Now the question is, if the soul has a spiritual body, then why we are not able to see that spiritual body? The problem is the day we decided that this spiritual body is only meant to serve the Lord. But the moment we say that I'm not interested in serving the Lord, I want to become the Lord myself, this spiritual body of us is lost. Lost in a sense, it diminishes, it shrinks, it minimizes. Because now our activities are towards the gross body. So the way, if I want to keep my gross body healthy, what I do, I eat nutritious food, right? If I eat nutritious food, then my body will become strong and I can then enjoy my body through and I can enjoy the senses using my gross body. But the problem is when I'm doing but for the spirit soul or the spiritual body, how I can rejuvenate that spirit body? The only way to rejuvenate the spirit body is that we use Krishna Prasad to nourish our soul. We start chanting Krishna's names, and then only the spiritual body of us, which has been right now in that minimized stage, can actually become stronger and it can grow healthier. Some 7-8 years back, when I was doing Bhakti Vrish under His Grace Rufilas Prabhuji, and whenever to our Bhakti Vrish class used to happen, beginning of the class, Prabhuji used to always ask us one thing: why we should be chanting Krishna's holy name. And everybody will give different answers that, oh, this is Yuga Dharma, this is for cleansing the mind. And Prabhuji used to always say that actually chanting of Krishna name is the spiritual food. It is a food for the soul. So when we are consuming that food, the spiritual body will become strong. Otherwise, this body is going to be lost because we are interested in the gross body and not the spiritual body. Now, the other example to that, whether our spiritual body, and I'll give an example of that, of our spiritual body. The perfect example to this is our Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, he is at the age of 75. Very soon, we'll be celebrating his 76th Vyas Puja Day. Now, at that age, imagine the physical body is not strong. But still, you see, Guru Maharaj, he is actually traveling practically is right now because of the lockdown situation. Otherwise, practically is traveling every third day to the different cities. He's traveling to different countries. He's preaching. He's conducting so many classes. He's motivating people to do book distribution. He's managing temples. He's opening temples. He's going on aspiring people. He's giving diksha. With that much of activity to do at that, and again he is performing his sadhana, he is getting up early in the morning at the Mangala Arati and he's ending his day. Now, do you think that his physical body is capable of doing all this? No. But Guru Maharaj is getting the strength from his spiritual body, because his spiritual body is extremely strong. And why his spiritual body is extremely strong? Because his sadhana is so strong. His chanting is extremely pure. He's following the Prabhupada's instruction. His mind, which is his, here it is written, my manasam, is actually dedicated to Krishna. He's only thinking about Krishna. He's thinking about Prabhupada's mission. And look at his spiritual body is so extremely strong. So this is how we need to understand that in this material world, the focus should not be on the gross body. Our focus should be on the spiritual body, that how I can do my spiritual body stronger. And when we ask people to chant 16 rounds, we come out with so many reasons that we didn't got time. Then how, if that food is not getting, that nourishment is not happening, then how our spiritual body will get stronger? no matter how much of sadhana no matter how much Bhagavad Gita we read or lectures but if we are not serious in chanting or nicely, we are not chanting our rounds nicely, our spiritual body is not going to grow. Guru Maharaj always says that chanting is 99% of our spiritual life and 1% is rest all things. So 99% is so our chanting needs to be that pure and it needs to be as per instructed in our parampara. Now, in this purport, Prabhupada also mentions that the activities of this Atma Raman, okay, the people who are actually dedicated in Krishna consciousness, for karmis, they will look at us and they'll say, oh, he's also traveling the way I travel. He's also working the way I'm working. Then there is no difference between me and them. So, normally when you see the sannyasi is traveling in an aircraft, people will be thinking that even I'm traveling, he's also traveling. And when our devotees are there, they are performing, we are performing our normal jobs, we are earning money. But the thing is that when we are earning when we are earning money, we are actually using this Lakshmi for spreading Krishna consciousness. We are using this, we're donating money in the temple, we are using this for Krishna conscious activity. So at least when we are doing this, we are not getting the karmic reactions to that. And Prabhupada gives an example that the way, there will be two set of people. So one person will use cement bricks to build a building for his sense gratification. And then the other person will actually use the cement, and you'll use the money and the bricks to build a temple, which is used for the spiritual purpose. So that is the difference between these two, that the activities which are done for the karmic activity, that's going to attract karmas for us. But the one which we are doing for the spiritual activity, that will be having no karmic reactions to that. Now, I was, whatever we discussed so far, it can be actually given, there's a very beautiful analogy given in Ramayana about this. So, in Ramayana, we all know that Ravana used to live in Lanka. That was his place. And our acharyas has actually compared this Lanka to that of a gross body. Our gross body is compared to that of Lanka. And actually, if you see, Lanka is surrounded with water on all the sides. That water represents the material world in which this body of ours is lying. So our body is in Lanka, which is surrounded with the material world, which is the ocean. And this Ravana and Sita is compared to a spirit soul. Now look at Sita. Sita is a spirit soul who is captivated in this gross body or in Lanka. Now, practically, she was actually she was in the city which is made of gold. So much of opulence was there. In fact, in Ramayana, it is mentioned that the Lanka was even more beautiful than the heavenly planet of that of Indralok. It was even more beautiful than the Indralok. So, but Sita, she was still not happy in that material world. In that Lanka, which is actually the material body. Similarly, our soul, no matter even if we are staying in the best of the palaces, the soul is still in that miserable state, because soul's real identity is das. The soul is the das of the Lord. The spiritual activity of the soul is to serve the Lord. But when the soul is captivated in this gross body, the soul is so unhappy. And because of that unhappiness, we can see that our gross body, and no matter how much senses, we are not able to satisfy our mind and senses because the soul itself is unhappy. Then the Ravana in Lanka, he represents what? He represents the mind. Actually, before that, Ravana actually never owned Lanka. He actually stole the Lanka from Kuber, right? So this gross body also is not ours. It has been given to us by the Lord. But we treat this gross body as ours, and we exploit this gross body the way we want, thinking that this belongs to me and this is my owner and I am the owner of this gross body. Similarly, Ravan, who's like our mind, he used to he took away the entire Lanka and he was enjoying the Lanka, the gross body. And Ravan's another name is called Dashanan, right? Now, what is this Dashanan? Dashanan is the one who has 10 heads. And the Ramayana also means it's said in the purports that Dashanan also means the one whose 10 senses are not in his control. So the eyes, ears, nose, and the genitals and the legs, hands are not in his control. So Ravan, although he was sitting in the Lanka, which is made of gold, he had beautiful queens to enjoy his sensual desires, and he has all the opulence. He is so powerful. He had actually captured the three worlds. Still, when the moment Suparnika, or his sister, I don't recollect her name, Suparnakha, when she just described about Sita to Ravan, immediately his senses got charged. He got so excited just listening to. He has not even seen the photo of Sita. That time there were no mobiles to see the photo and things. Just on the description, he got so captivated that he immediately left everything, and he said, "Now I want this Sita in my life." Desires are there, going on and on and on. So our mind is like that Ravan. But now what happens to the soul? So Sita was there, and Ravan has kept her in Lanka, and she was there almost. So it was only at the end of the 10th month, actually when Ram came and rescued Sita. But when she was there, what was Sita doing? Sita was totally, she was only meditating on Lord Ram. She was just thinking about, her entire mind was only focused on Ram. She was just saying Ram, 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 full day and night. She had no interest in any other thing. And when she was chanting Lord Ram's name so nicely, who came to her rescue? Hanumanji came to her rescue. And who does Hanumanji represents? Hanumanji represents the Guru, our spiritual master. So when spiritual master doesn't come daily into our life, only when we are sincere in our sadhana, when we are sincerely chanting Krishna's name, then Krishna sends the Guru in our life. And when spiritual master came, so when Hanumanji came, what did he do? He gave a ring to Sita. He gave this ring, a ring of Lord Ram to Sita. What does this ring signifies? This ring signifies initiation, Diksha. So our spiritual master gives us a bead bag. He says, chant on these beads. And when the soul chants on these beads, what happens? Lord Ram comes into our life. And when Lord Ram comes into life, he takes the Sita back to Ayodhya, where they can stay eternally with Lord Ram. So this is what the shloka, and this is the purport and the meaning to this shloka. So I don't have anything further to say. So I will like to open up, unmute everyone. So if you can have any questions or you want to talk about any realizations, then we can free to all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Dandavat pranam.
Very nice presentation, very eloquently speaking.
Thank you,
And I would like to comment on your class. One or two points which you said, that this body is a perfect instrument of suffering.
Yes.
And people understand this body as to be a perfect instrument for enjoying, but actually this is a perfect instrument given to us for suffering. That was a very nice point. Another point that you made about Guru Maharaj, that how he is a live example for the spiritual things that he is doing, the spiritual Shakti that he's getting because of the services. And it is not on the material platform that anybody can do so much work. So he's a live example. And another example you gave that about the food for the soul, that chanting is the food for the soul. That was very nice example. And in last, this analogy of Sita Mata and these things was wonderful. This was wonderful. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for your kind words. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, to be open for questions, or you're going to add something more?
Yeah. Anybody will like to take the questions? We can take questions.
Any questions? Please kindly raise your hands for questions. Don't see any questions. Kindly to see any questions on YouTube. I must compliment you, Jayamara Prabhu, for a wonderful lecture. Today, more of the Dasatva Bhav of Hanumanji, I could understand. It was
Yes, Prabhuji.
and very wonderfully, very nicely.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Any participant would like to make any
Param
comments?
Shakti Mataji has told Haribol Pandul Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Can we see questions coming in?
Geeta Mata has sent a question about birth of Ram and
Ram,
what is it?
Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrugna.
Yes, what is it?
So,
What is that
So-
question?
That's about it. She has written. Geeta Mata has sent a question about. Okay, she wants to know about birth of Hanuman ji.
Huh?
ऐसा लिखा हुआ है. I'll repeat the entire thing. Geeta Mata has sent a question about birth of Ram, Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrugna. She wants to know about birth of Hanuman ji.
Hanumanji.
Yeah.
Where and what is this?
Whether same charu was given to Anjana Mata.
Prabhuji?
नहीं.
So I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand the question. So my question is that what is the first thing I understand is that what are the birth of Ram, Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrugna. So actually they are so from Lord Vishnu. So I'm just going back into the Bhagavatam. In the secondary creation, which is explained in the Bhagavatam, that from Lord Vishnu comes Vasudev, Shankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. So that Vasudev actually incarnated as Lord Ram, Shankarshan, who is actually Balramji, here incarnated as Lakshmana, and Shatrugna and Aniruddha, and I think they have been born as Bharata and Shatrugna, and even the queens of Dashrath. So I think the second question was that what about the three queens of Dashrath Maharaj? So actually, all the three queens of Dashrath Maharaj, they are also represents Kaushalya Mata, she actually represents Saraswati. Kaikeyi represents Lakshmi, and I think the last one, what I recollect is Durga. So that's like how the three goddesses had incarnated as three mothers of this. So, but still, I'm not very I'm not very sure, but I know for sure about
We have one person who has done PhD on this Ramayana, that is Ram Jivan Prabhu.
Okay.
He can give us a nice explanation.
Yes.
Because day and night he's doing PhD on this thing.
Yes.
Ram
Hare
given
Krishna.
that Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Yes, Prabhu, what is it?
The answer goes like this. Ram, Lakshman, Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrugna. They are the various. Vishnu was divided into four parts because he had to come in the form of human form. If he comes as a form of God, then it will violate the conditions put forth by Ravana. Ravana had put a condition that except for human being,
Manusya and
no one
monkey.
else can monkey. Vanaras. Actually, Vanara in Valmiki Ramayana and case of Ramcharitmanas, Vanara is depicted as monkeys, whereas in case of our Valmiki Ramayana, Vanara. Van means one mein rehne wala nar, Vanara. So they are supposed to be the actual Vanaras in Valmiki Ramayana. So he is having immune to death from those two people, and that is the reason Vishnu had to be divided into four parts. Sudarshan, Sankarshan of course stands for Lakshmanji, that is Sankarshan part, whereas the other two parts are his Shankha and Chakra. Shankha and Chakra come as Bharat and Shatrugna, and Vishnu himself is coming 1/4 part. That is why the sweet rice is also divided accordingly. Half is given to Kaushalya. When he could have given half, divided into three parts, but why it was further divided into 1/8 and 1/4? The reason is शंख और चक्र का पोषण के हिसाब से, पावर पोटेंसी के हिसाब से उनको ब्रेकअप किया गया था. And as regards Hanumanji's birth, which Gita Mata is asking, it is very clearly known that Hanumanji was born as, he's got two names. One is Vayuputra and one is Shivansh. It is said in I think 1 minute, I'll tell you Vishnu Puran. It comes once Shiva and Parvati were sitting on Kailash and they saw two monkeys playing. So looking at that form, they also took a form of monkeys. Acharyas give two commentaries on this. Okay, one commentary is the general one. The second one is, why did they take the form of monkey? It is said to enjoy the world, you have to take animal form. Then only you enjoy better. In a human form, you cannot enjoy. And the minute you take an animal form, you do monkey business. So in that time, he gave a conception to Parvati. And Parvati said, I'm already having an elephant child. I don't want another child, a monkey child with me. I will not take the conception. So he calls Vayu and he gives the conception to Vayu Devata. And he gives that conception. Shiva gives the conception to Vayu Devata and tells him to keep it safely. Now you have to take care of it. And that conception is given to the Saptarishis, who take it to the top of Mandakini river, which is from where it starts. And on a metal leaf, they keep this conception. Here, our Brahaspati was one everyday morning, he used to have a maid servant who used to go and get flowers for him. And he used to do his Shaligram Puja. So once Brahaspati early morning duties, he was waiting for the flowers and this maid servant had gone to get the flowers. That time she saw some Gandharvas in a nice compromising, or you can say in a romantic mood, and she got agitated. And she came and jumped on the Rishi and started kissing him. On that, the Rishi got angry and he cursed her, "You are behaving like a monkey, may you become a monkey." And that is how Anjana was formed. That maid servant became Anjana. And she immediately begged forgiveness from the Rishi. As usual, the Rishis first curse, and then they release you from the curse. So they said that he said that you please go to Rishi Parvat, and where Kesari is waiting. He doesn't have a child, and you mate with him. And once you are deliver a child, you will be free from your curse. And then she comes over here, gets married to Kesari, but then they don't have a child, and Kesari is busy doing tapasya in Himalaya Parvat. That time, Vayu comes and gives her this conception. Then she asks, "Who are you? If you don't come in front of me, I will curse you." And that time, when he is giving the conception, he says, "This is the Ansh of Shiva, which I am giving it to you. You will have to bear this and give birth to a monkey." Because it was given, the conception was given in the monkey form between Shiva and Parvati. And once you give birth, you will be free from this curse of Anjana. That is how Hanumanji is called as Shiva Ansh also, Rudra Ansh also, and also as Anjana Putra and also as Vayu Putra. Since Vayu gave the conception, but the conception was basically of Shivaji, this is the three reasons why she got it. That is why Hanumanji has got three names. That is why in I think Adhyatma Ramayana it says Parvati, Shiva wanted to serve Ramchandraji. You always give the example of the story of Ram and Ram shouting for Sita, and Shiva telling Parvati, "Don't disturb. It is a Leela of the Lord," as you always say, and it is the starting of Ramcharitmanas. That time, Parvati says, "I will also come with you to serve the Lord." So she says, "No, I'm going to go as a brahmachari, so I cannot take you." So she says, "I will come in the form of your tail." That is why he could do magnificent task with his tails also, because his wife was there in the form of a tail. But this comes only in Adhyatma Ramayana, doesn't come in Valmiki Ramayana or in Kamba Ramayana.
So very beautiful, Prabhuji. See, this is what is the strength of a Guru Parampara. In Guru Parampara, we have all our answers. Even one person doesn't have the answer, other person has the answer. And that is the beauty of our Guru Parampara system. In our Parampara system, we have all the answers. We may not be having the answers. This is the first time I'm listening. This all stories. But actually, what happens, the beauty is that every of our acharyas have given the commentaries, and every acharya, and our history is so vast that our life is so short actually to understand everything. Huh? But yes, if we do not have the answers, our acharyas definitely have the answers,
Yes.
and we can always refer to our Guru Parampara system, and we can
Yes.
get the answers of whatever anybody is asking.
I have to thank you, Prabhuji, for putting faith
Yeah,
on me.
Murari
Thanks a
Prabhu.
lot.
Absolutely nice, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for a wonderful explanation.
Question coming in from
Thanks a lot.
Amrut Jivandas Prabhuji.
Yes, Amruji Vandas. Yes, Prabhu.
हाँ, हरे कृष्ण।
Yes.
मैं वीडियो चालू करो, एक मिनट।
Yeah.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, आपने बहुत अच्छी तरह से लेक्चर दिया। मेरा खाली टिप्पणी है, जैसे कि आपने पहले तो शिक्षा गुरु को कवर किया, क्योंकि आपने भक्ति शास्त्री में क्या सीखा उसके बारे में उल्लेख किया। फिर बाद में आपने गुरु को भी बहुत अच्छी तरह से एक्सप्लेन किया। फिर आपने परंपरा को भी कवर किया। फिर उसके बाद आपने ये जो एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया ना, सीता माता का, हनुमान का, राम का, रावण का, वो आपने कहाँ से पढ़ा था? मुझे उसका एक क्यूरियोसिटी है, या आप किसी लेक्चर से सुना था? वो मुझे पर्सनली या ऐसे अभी भी बता देंगे तो मैं जस्ट वो रेफरेंस नोट कर लूंगा।
एक्चुअली प्रभु जी, मैंने ये मैंने ये एक्चुअली एक्सप्लेनेशन मैंने कोई लेक्चर में नहीं सुना। मैंने ये सुना था, मैं जब भी अटलांटा में था तो हिज ग्रेस देवकी नंदन प्रभु जी आते थे वहाँ पे एज अ विजिटिंग सन्यासी आए थे वहाँ पे। तो उन्होंने एक बार राम कथा की थी। तो उन्होंने इसमें एक बार इस चीज के बारे में बताया था कि जैसे जो मैंने आपको अभी एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया वो वहां से अभी उनका सोर्स क्या है मुझे नहीं मालूम, बट मैंने लेक्चर में उनसे सुना था तो मुझे बहुत पसंद आया था। और ये मतलब काचे का आई थिंक मैंने काफी सालों पहले सुना था, बट अभी तक वो मुझे इतना अच्छे से याद है क्योंकि इतनी अच्छी तरह से उन्होंने एक्सप्लेन किया कि वो मैं कभी भूल नहीं सकता हूँ। और जब भी मैं सोचता हूँ कि क्या कर रहे थे, वो समझ में आ जाता हूँ कि रावण है हमारा मन, मतलब जो मन है वो पूरा रावण से भरा हुआ है। जो दशानन बोलते हैं ना, बराबर से बोल रहे हैं कि हमारा मन है दशानन, हमको दशरथ बनना है। दशरथ है, उनके सब सेंसेस कंट्रोल में थे, तो हम अभी है रावण के स्टेट में, हमें जाना है दशरथ के स्टेट में। जब हम दशरथ बनेंगे तभी हमारे घर में राम आएंगे, तब तक हमारे घर में रावण ही रहने वाला है।
वेरी नाइस प्रभु जी। मैं ये ऑडियो रिकॉर्ड यूट्यूब पे वापस रहेगा, फिर एक बार वो एटलीस्ट मन की तृप्ति के लिए मैं वापस 1-2 बार सुनूंगा। थैंक यू, वेरी नाइस।
धन्यवाद प्रभु जी।
ये बिकॉज ऑफ ओनली गुरु महाराज और शिक्षा गुरु की कृपा से ये सब राइट टाइम पे राइट वर्ड्स याद आते हैं, अदरवाइज इट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट।
प्रभु जी, हमारा क्वालिफिकेशन कुछ नहीं है। हम खाली बोलते हैं ना, गुरु की खाली हमें धोती पकड़ के रखनी है। जैसे प्रभुपाद को बोलते हैं ना, प्रभुपाद बोलते हैं जस्ट होल्ड माय धोती एंड आई विल टेक यू बैक फ्रॉम द बैक डोर। हमें वही करना है।
सुभाष गर्ग प्रभु को जो सवाल आ रहा है। सुभाष,
ऑल ग्लोरीज टू शिक्षा गुरु और गुरु महाराज।
ऑल ग्लोरीज। हरे कृष्ण।
सुभाष गर्ग प्रभु जी बात कीजिए। सुभाष गर्ग प्रभु जी।
दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी। कैन यू
दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी। वॉल्यूम इज वेरी लो।
हाँ बोलिए, सुनाई दे रहा है, बोलिए आप प्रभु।
हाँ, मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि गुरु महाराज के बारे में आपने बताया कि स्पिरिचुअल एनर्जी से उनको फिजिकल एनर्जी मिलता, यू नो, ही इज एबल टू डू टू मच ऑफ वर्क फिजिकली। माय क्वेश्चन इज हाउ does spiritual energy get converted into physical energy? Is there any mechanism for that?
See, the mechanism, what I have understood is from the purport given by Prabhupada is that actually the source of even our body, our gross body, okay, the source of our gross body, the senses which are there, somewhere they are actually the subset of our spiritual energy or the spiritual senses. But we are right now only focusing on that energy, which is the material senses of our gross body. But when we start looking at the, the spirit, so it's like this way. The other example is given is that, when we see a tree, the roots of the tree are very strong, but it cannot be seen. What we see is the tree itself. We see the branches, we see the leaves, and we think, oh, this is the tree. And we think the tree is very strong. Actually, the strength of the tree lies in its roots. Similarly, our roots is our spiritual strength. But when that spiritual strength is strong, automatically the tree, that is our gross tree or the material body, that itself becomes stronger. So even in the case of Guru Maharaj, because his spiritual energy is so strong, his dedication is so strong, automatically his gross body is supporting that. Otherwise, without that, it's impossible for anybody at that age to do the amount of activity he has done. Or for that matter, even Prabhupada. What he has done in 11 years from 70 to 81 is impossible for anybody to do that at that age. Correct.
Actually, I was drawing an analogy in that, potential energy getting converted to kinetic energy.
Yes, yes. It is kind of that only. So when the roots are strong, automatically their energy is passed on to the tree, right? So it's like that.
Dhanyavad Prabhuji. Pranam. Dandavad pranam to all.
गीता माता जी का सवाल है, गीता माता जी स्पीक अप.
Hello, Dandavad Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandavad Pranam Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I've got two questions. One
Yes,
is
Mataji.
about the chanting, that
Yes.
in this time, in quarantine time, when we are busy with housework, it's not possible to make whatever according to our capacity rounds we are making. At a stage, we cannot do that. So is it okay to do it at intervals? And my second question is, when Sita Mai is compared to soul, our soul is very pure and loving. And soul doesn't have desire. Our mind is filled with desire. So if Sita Mai is compared to soul, then why does she have this desire of having this golden deer?
Okay. So
And please tell me about the chanting, because it's not possible for me to do chanting at one stretch. Whenever I get time in the housework, I come and I do my chanting. So please guide me on that also.
Yeah. So first of all, answer to the first question is that ideally we should be doing chanting in the Brahma Muhurat. So in the morning time, because that time, the mind is calm. It's very peaceful. So we are able to actually concentrate nicely when we are chanting our rounds. But when we do the same chanting in the afternoon time or in the evening time or at the night time, it becomes very difficult to concentrate mind on chanting, because the body is tired, mind is tired. So when you get up early in the morning, it is very nice. We can actually do very nice chanting and we can nicely focus on chanting. Now, when you said that while you are working, of course, of course, it's not. It doesn't mean that you leave everything and you sit and just do japa. I mean, that of course you can do. That will be nice, but I can understand that we have household responsibilities. So actually, what we can do is, when we are actually doing our household activities, play a kirtan in the house. When in Vrindavan also, when Yashoda Mai, when she used to churn butter for Krishna, all the gopis, and then they used to actually sing nice bhajans, which is glorifying Krishna. And they are actually they are actually doing nice bhajan on the activities or pastimes of the Krishna. So they are actually meditating on Krishna even when they are doing their household chores. While cooking or while cleaning, they are actually remembering Krishna. Now, so answer to your question is yes, there is no hard and fast rule that you need to complete everything, but ideally the situation is, if you can complete everything, your 16 rounds in the Brahma Muhurat, that is the most ideal thing to do. If you're not able to do, then try to at least finish it in the first half of the day, and as nicely you can chant. Now coming to your question number 2 is that if we compare Sita to the soul, then soul doesn't have desires. That's not true. Actually, soul has desire. Now, when we say that when we become spiritual or when we become Krishna consciousness, the desire, it's not that, we end our desire till the time, because our mind is thinking, willing and feeling. So the desires are bound to come. But Sita's desire was what? Sita's desire was to get association of Lord Ram. That was her desire. Her desire was not to enjoy Lanka. If she wanted, she could have actually become the queen of Lanka, because as it is, Ravan was like eagerly waiting to get her into her life, and she had all the opulence all around her. But Sita, her desire was spiritual. Her desire was having association of Lord Ram. So even the soul has desires. But the problem is, right now our soul is conditioned soul. When we say conditioned soul, means we are actually in the captive of material nature. And our desire is to enjoy the material nature. But in that process, we are suffering. But originally, the soul desire is to serve the Lord all the time. So, Jive Swarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. That's what it's written in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, that is the original constitutional position of the soul, is to serve the Lord. So soul does has desire. But we need to channelize our desire. We need to think that where we want to focus our energy on. Whether we want to focus our energy on Ravan or we want to focus our energy on Ram. By default, when just to give we'll take one more minute and then I'll end. And when Guru Maharaj, when he comes for Gita Marathon, and he says that Maya's marathon is actually happening full 12 months, and we are doing Gita Marathon only for 1 month. But Maya Marathon is going on for full 12 months, 24/7. There is no end to it. Even in our dreams, the Maya Marathon is going on. Our mind is again, our desires are coming out. So it is all about what choice we want to make in life. Whether we want to associate with Ravan or we want to associate with Ram. If you want to associate with Ram, we have to be like Sita, meditate on Ram, desire is Ram. If you want to enjoy like Ravan, then we are ready for suffering. Then we have to get ready, and then we cannot creep that why the suffering is happening. And honestly speaking, nowadays when I see even at my house, morning when I get up and in the evening they are glued to the television. Kitne aaj mare? As if an amount of talks which are happening, and like even when I'm on my office calls and things in US. Half the time on the call, people are discussing about coronavirus. अरे इतना time अगर कृष्णा के बारे में कथा किया रहता था, we all would have gone back to Vaikunt right now. Coronavirus. We are talking about coronavirus. So that is how it is.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam, Prabhuji.
Next question coming from Arvind Naik, Prabhuji. Arvind Naik, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Take on Arvind Naik, Prabhuji. अरविंद नाइक प्रभु जी बात कीजिए। अरविंद नाइक प्रभु जी सवाल पूछिए। I think it's audio is not there. Okay, I'll put on Sadhu Muralidhar Prabhu. साधु मुरलीधर प्रभु जी आपके यहाँ।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
धन्यवाद। अच्छा, now my question is not regarding anything about today's. I am talking about tomorrow's Ekadashi.
Yes.
Yeah.
प्रभु जी।
हाँ बोलिए।
एकादशी जो है 6:19 पे स्टार्ट होने वाली है ना?
अभी वो देखना पड़ेगा प्रभु जी।
नहीं, वो मैं देखा उसमें आया है 6:19 को। मेरा यही क्वेश्चन, एक खाली ये पूछना था, अगर जो चीज हम एकादशी में नहीं खा सकते, अगर वो सुबह सुबह उठ के खा ली जाए एज ए दवाई के तौर पे, अगर कुछ खाते हैं तो कोई प्रॉब्लम है क्या उसमें? बिफोर 6:19
दवाई की तरह खा सकते हो बाकी की नहीं।
आपको मैं बोलता हूँ, आई टेक मेथी दाना अर्ली मॉर्निंग।
तो दवाई के हिसाब से ले सकते हैं। दवाई के हिसाब से ले लो, दवाई के हिसाब से कोई प्रॉब्लम। उनके बच्चों, बूढ़ा और बीमार आदमी के लिए थोड़ा कंसेशन रहता है।
हाँ, हम तो बूढ़े थे, हो ही गए प्रभु।
सवाल आ रहा है। अरविंद नाइक प्रभु जी वापस हाथ उठा रहे हैं, एक मिनट। अरविंद नाइक प्रभु जी आपका सवाल है, सवाल पूछिए आप।
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्ण।
प्रणाम हो आपको। आज एकादशी है और एकादशी के बेसिस पे जो सब्जेक्ट हुआ है,
आज नहीं
इसके पहले मैं पढ़ रहा था, रूप विलास प्रभु जी ने बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्लेन किया है। उसमें हर बॉडी के पार्ट के ऊपर एकादशी का क्या इफेक्ट है और विष्णु जी ने किस तरह से उसको कंप्लाई करके बोथ नेगेटिव और पॉजिटिव किया है। थोड़ा सा इस बात पे यदि रूप विलास प्रभु जी आप कुछ उस पर कथन करोगे तो मेरे ख्याल से सारे पब्लिक के लिए काफी कुछ समझ में और आ जाएगा, क्योंकि एकादशी हर कोई करता है।
ऑलरेडी मैंने 5:30 से मैंने एक घंटा लेक्चर दे दिया हूँ।
बताई गई है
आज मैंने उसके ऊपर 1-1.5 घंटा लेक्चर दे दिया हूँ, और वो पूरा यूट्यूब पे अगर वो राम जीवन प्रभु चढ़ा देंगे तो ठीक है, तो पूरा लोगों को भेज देंगे हम लोग, ठीक है, क्योंकि वो 1-1.5 घंटे का क्लास है पूरा। वो पहले इसके पहले मैं दे दिया हूँ।
ये काफी कुछ उसमें था, मैंने पढ़ा आज जो शाम को भी इसके बारे में, एकादशी के बारे में। तो कुछ उसमें कुछ ऐसी चीजें है जो व्हाई इट हैज बीन डन वो समझ में नहीं आया। विष्णु भगवान को कराना नहीं था तो निगेटिव कराया, पॉजिटिव भी कराया। ये कुछ कॉम्प्लिकेटेड था, थोड़ा सा ऐसा लगा, इसलिए मैंने आपसे पूछना चाहा। एनी केस विल गो थ्रू द यूट्यूब एज यू सजेस्टेड, उसका कोई इश्यू नहीं है। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण।
एक मिनट, शान कौन? Shan, can you unlock your video? Ask question. Yes, Prabhuji, you can ask question.
Hi, good evening, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hi, thank you for the wonderful lecture today evening. I had a simple question regarding desires. You mentioned that desires are of many types and the soul can also have a desire. But the desire that is there for Maya, for all the materialistic world, that is something that we should not pursue. Now, I wanted to know, I put it in the chat also before, what is the difference between desire and ambition? I understand desire for Maya especially is something that we should not pursue. But then if that, how can you distinguish between that and ambition? Because ambition can also lead to something good. Now, ambition is something that has led to progress or evolution or all the other development that we see. So how do you distinguish between what is a desire of materialistic nature versus what is your ambition to develop this world? Or, you know, only when you have a kingdom, that is when you can do something good. So
right,
having a kingdom something wrong? So
okay.
is that kind of an ambition wrong? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you. So let me answer this. So first of all, when we say desire, we need to understand when we say whether it is a materialistic desire or spiritual desire. It's very simple to understand. When we are keeping ourselves in the center, that means we are having material desires. But when we are keeping Krishna in the center, that means we have a spiritual desire. Even in our spiritual life, you know, when we become a devotee, we wear Kantimala, we are putting tika. Many times, you know, we actually want glorification of ourselves. Say, if somebody is a good speaker, or somebody is very good in book distribution, somebody is very good in doing certain activity, the pride comes up at times, thinking that, you know, this is that I'm doing. So, you know, in one of the classes I was listening to Guru Maharaj, he says that, are we doing service to please ourselves or we are doing service to please Krishna? So if we are doing service to please Krishna, then we should not think that, oh, why people are not glorifying me or not think. Now, so desires is very simple. Either you see who is in the center and you'll get the answer to that. Now, coming to yourself, that whether it is ambitions or not. Now, you know, in entire Krishna consciousness, even in Bhagavad Gita, it's not that we are sidelining the ambition. Even Krishna had told Arjuna that go ahead and fight the battle and take the kingdom, and you know, you become the king. I mean, the battle was supposed to be for the kingdom. So ambition was definitely there. Ambition was to get the entire rule of the world. So Krishna never stopped Arjuna that, oh no, in fact Krishna, the entire Bhagavad Gita was spoken so that Arjuna lifts his Gandiv and fights that war. Now coming to your question about ambition, even in ISKCON, right, Prabhupada was so ambitious. In just 11 years, he wanted to build 108 temples he created. So his ambition was that he can spread this much as much possible. He wanted that ISKCON should be one of the best spiritual institutions in the world. So ambition is definitely there, but that ambition is not from sense gratification. Ambition is from the point of how I can spread Krishna consciousness even further. That should be the ambition. So even in ISKCON, like Guru Maharaj has ambition. He always asks, what is your score for today? In fact, you know, every day in the Mangal Arati, there is a score which has been announced right in front of the deities that how much book distribution happened. And Guru Maharaj, whenever you meet him and you say that, Guru Maharaj, last day I had sold 500 Bhagavad Gita and today I have not done, today is going to start. So today you're doing 100 or you're going to do 1000. So he is asking, so, you know, the targets are set higher. The higher is the ambition out there. Why? Because the center there is Krishna. So there is absolutely nothing wrong in having ambition in life. But at the same time, we need to understand that this ambition should not entrap us into getting into sense gratification. That is something which you need to be very cautious about. So even if you are doing good in your business, nobody is saying that, you know, tala maar ke baith jao, business ko band kar do. Absolutely no. You know, progress in your business. And we have example that of, you know, Henry Ford's great grandson, who's Amrish Prabhuji. Now, he is actually the legal heir of Henry Ford. He is owning the Ford Motors. Now, imagine, he is actually the richest person. His wealth will be probably even more than the Tatas and Birlas all put together. But he's using that money in building the temple in Mayapur. His ambition is that how I can spread Krishna consciousness more. So there is nothing wrong in having ambitions in life. But desires is something which we need to be watching. We should be looking out for, whether it is us or whether it is Krishna. That we need to be very much focused. Otherwise, it's very easy to get entangled in Maya. And I remember, Rufilas Prabhuji once showed one picture. Prabhuji, you remember that one person was hanging on a branch, and there was a drop of honey, and there were snakes down there, and there were rats, cutting it. And he is inside, like there were tigers down there, and snake on the branch. Still, he is looking at that drop of honey, and he wants to enjoy because his tongue wants to taste that honey. So that is our position. हम झूल रहे हैं, लेकिन taste करना है honey को अभी. So that is our position.
It's a very interesting point, Prabhuji. Thank you for that. I'm wondering, so the center behind the desire and ambition is whether it is centered around self or centered around Krishna. But if it is centered around society or a community, does that also have a higher being? Because let's take an example that will help. If we talk about the person that created the internet, for example, he might have done it for the society, or he might have done it for selfish reasons. But now, because of that, today we can reconnect over Zoom, over the Zoom app, so that we can talk about Krishna. So he did not have the intention to do that, but it eventually turned out to be something that is good. He might have done it for his selfish needs and desires.
Right.
So how do you justify that? And then if one person wanted to do something like this, eventually it may reach Krishna consciousness, or it may serve the Lord at the end. But then how do you justify? And secondly, again, coming back to the point is that how do you distinguish between desire and ambition apart from the center, which I completely agree with?
So when you say internet, right? Now in internet, tell me, Prabhuji, out of, if I have to give 100% to internet, how much of that percentage goes towards Krishna consciousness activity, and how much goes towards the karmic activity? What do you think? People have internet nowadays. We have actually, when I say this mobile is actually an asura in our hand. It is Kali Yuga manifested in form of mobile phones. And with the internet given free to us, what does people do in general? They either watch movies, they surf the net for all the wrong things. They surf nets for getting more entanglement through different media, different applications and things. So it's nothing wrong in using the internet for Krishna consciousness things. Now, when it comes to the ambition, whether it is good or not, or whether you're doing for the society, to answer that is, say there is a person who actually builds a hospital. Okay. Now, there is nothing wrong in building the hospital. But the problem is that hospital, when it has been built, it is just going to solve the temporary problem of that person. Whether, that physical gross body problem, temporarily it is solved. Is it that once who visit the hospital will never die? Of course, he's going to die. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि today you do an bypass surgery, which means that I'm going to live eternally. Maybe after 3 days or 10 days or even after 10 years, I'm going to die. So what that facility has done is it has solved my relative problems of life, which is temporary problem. But the real problem is going to be there. I'm going to take birth again. I'm going to die. I'm going to get old. I'm going to get disease. So when the hospital is created, the problem is that, in one example, I think, Rufilas Prabhuji had given also in the past, I recollect in one of his lectures, that let's say a person has a cataract and he visits it, he goes to a hospital. The hospital treats his cataract. Okay. Now for that, that man definitely will give all the blessings to the doctor. But after getting his eyes back, now he starts watching, wrong things on internet. He watches more, which indulges him into doing wrongful activities. Then who should be blamed for it? So the karmic reaction is going to be definitely going there also, right, Prabhu? So again, there is nothing wrong in that. But the point is that you need to be understanding that if you are ambitious about helping the society, help the society by giving them, the God consciousness in their life, then you are helping that person. So like, this is one of the articles which was there in the Times of India, and it was by Amrish Puri, who is the great grandson of Henry Ford. And he was asked that you are spending billions of dollars in building this temple. Why aren't you spending these billions of dollars in building the hospital? And he said this hospital is going to just solve this temporary problem, but the temple which I'm building, or the money which has been spent to build, is going to solve his real problem of his life. Imagine that person coming to Krishna conscious and chanting Krishna's name, and he leaves body. He's permanently he is with Krishna. All his problems solved in one go. So that we need to understand. So ambition is nothing wrong, but that ambition should benefit people from a point of becoming more God conscious and not becoming more Maya conscious. If it is helping people, making people more Maya conscious, then that ambition and that whatever the end result is going to give you also the bad karmas for it. Although you may not have intentions of doing it, but the law of nature doesn't work that way. It is very strict. It is very straight. So even if you, so it's like, people, and I give this example in the classes, that even if you feel like eating non-veg today, you may say that, oh, I have not killed that animal, but you are still part of that entire conspiracy. Because you want somebody killed, somebody cut, somebody cooked, somebody served you. All the people in that entire chain will be getting karmic reaction for that. So we need to understand very, very seriously about that. All your activities are going to be for Krishna conscious, or making people God conscious, or people making people Maya conscious.
Next question coming from Mansi Kulkarni Mata.
Hare Krishna.
Mansi Kulkarni.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
My question was, thank you so much for the wonderful katha, and everybody of all the characters have some meaning. So I wanted to ask you that love and Kush, of course, Kush was born out of the grass, but love, what was his role, in the sense, why was he deprived of father's love at such a young age? And because Sita was all the time meditating on Ram, so was there any kind of I wanted to have some more clearance on that. Why was he born in the one, because was there any kind of karma and all? He was deprived of father's love, even though he was Rajkumar, So can you give some clarity on that?
Honestly, Mataji, I'm not qualified to speak. Maybe Ramji and Prabhuji, if you can answer that.
So I think so. This is out. Mataji can directly speak to Ramji and Prabhuji, because this is not connected with the shloka or the class which we have taken. Mansi Mata, please directly contact Ramji and Prabhu, and because this will go to another topic. Okay.
Prabhuji, yes.
Yes, Ramji and Prabhu can nicely answer this thing.
I don't think there are any more questions except for one question on the chat, in the chat box. I think you can please apprise 5 teachings of Lord Kapil Dev to Mother Devahuti. Or we can keep it for later. This is coming from Chandrasekhar Prabhu.
Yeah, I mean, I can put it on the group about our topics. So basically, in the entire chapter, I mean, this is one of the chapters. He has many other chapters and many other shlokas in that chapter, but he's basically talking about that how one should be Krishna conscious, and once a person is Krishna conscious, how this reactions will not come. Even if he's indulging in, if he looks like he's indulging into the materialistic activity, because as I said, the soul, the center is Krishna in there, the soul. So. I mean, I can put some of the teachings of Lord Kapila on the chat group after this.
That will be wonderful. Then we can circulate. Yeah, that's about it at the moment.
Prabhuji, I just wanted to add to the question that Prabhuji was asking about the ambition and this thing. Yes. As you know, Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, the goal of the life is to become Atmavan. Main other thing is that we have to become intelligent in our life. We have to understand we have to understand the goal. What is our goal of life? Because if we are driving a vehicle, we know everything how to drive, but we do not know where to take the car or where the destination of the car is. That driving is useless. Another thing, I always give an example of a child getting lost in the fair. When a child gets, he gets lost in the fair, and then he's separated from his father and he's crying, and then one person comes and gives him food because he was hungry. Then another person comes and gives him the cloth because he was getting tired, and then उसको सुला दिया गया था, और फिर सुबह जब उठा तो उसको बुखार था, तो फिर उसको डॉक्टर के पास लेके गए थे, और बाद में एक आदमी आया और देखा कि ये लड़का तो उसका इसके पिता का लड़का है, ये फ्रेंड का लड़का है, तो उंगली पकड़ के उसके पिता के पास लेके गए. 4 people had done 4 activities. One had given, that child who had lost in the affair, खाना दिलाया था, एक ने उसको कपड़ा दिया था, एक ने उसको मेडिसिन्स दी थी, लेकिन चौथे ने उसको कुछ भी नहीं दिया था. He only had taken the child's hand and handed over to the father. तो चारों ने अच्छा एक्टिविटी किया, लेकिन which is the best activity? The best activity is the last one, surely. Why? Because जब उसके फादर के पास लेके जाओगे तो उसके बाकी के जो 3 प्रॉब्लम है वो परमानेंटली सॉल्व हो जाएगी. तो when we talk about materially solving any problem, we are actually complicating the problem by indulging the people in karma reaction. Because karmas are not broken at any level, goodness level, passionate level, or ignorance level, which level we are doing the activities, karmas are not broken. Karmas can be only broken when we do activities keeping Krishna in the center, in the level of Sattva Guna, Shuddha Sattva Guna. So the main activity is that how we reduce our karma baggage and we do not create new karma baggage. So in material world, in the name of, this socialism or this thing or goodness level, people say that goodness level. That goodness level is not also going to help the soul to liberate from the clutches of the karma, to liberate from this real problems of life, birth, death, old age, disease, adi devik, adi problem. At any moment, the problems comes. Like the technologies, they say, why we are suffering as a corona? It is a collective karma. People do not know to the laws. People, want to live a life, but how to live a life is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. People do not know. They have time for reading newspaper. They have time for reading everything. But how to live a life on the basis of Bhagavad Gita, they do not have time. Because Bhagavad Gita, Lord clearly says, can be only understood by my devotee and my friend. And it is a rahasya. So, what ambition, what goal? Goal is to, this body is specially given. The goal of this body is to go back. There is no other purpose for this goal. But if we make other goal, we are entangled into karma reaction. And that is not intelligence, to entangle in the karma reaction. Somehow we should get out of the karma reaction and liberate. So there may be good activities in material world, but that is not going to liberate us from the karma reaction. Karma reaction, liberation can only happen when Krishna is in the center. And we somehow serve the Vaishnavas and understand in a proper way under Guru Parampara system, how we can use this body properly and go back. It is said, if you are in the jail के अंदर रह के अगर तुम समाज सेवा करना चाहते हो, that is not right. Jail is a place for punishment. वो जेल में एक को खोल देगा कि भाई ये इसको क्यों ज्यादा मार रहे हो भाई, इसको थोड़ा कम मारो, इसको थोड़ा अच्छा सुविधा दो. तो जेल उसके लिए नहीं बनाया गया है, जेल सफरिंग के लिए बनाया गया. So to get out of the jail is the main goal of the life. To get out of this body and come to our original position is the goal of life. For that we should use our technology. For that we should use, and Prabhupada always says, devotees are intelligent. They can use anything for the Krishna Seva. Like we are using this internet. We are using this internet for Krishna Seva. But what the material people are doing, they are creating karma reaction. They are increasing karma reaction. So main thing is become intelligent and do akarma. Because the position which we are in today, millions of lives we have lived past. इसके पहले भी हजारों जन्म, हजारों कर्म कर चुके हैं हम लोग. And we have so many, goals, ambitions in previous life also. क्या हो गया वो goal of ambitions का? Huh? We do not remember. So ये life का भी बाद में कोई remember नहीं होने वाला है once we leave the body. Okay, so that was some comment I wanted to add.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Dayamural Prabhuji, you can officially end the session so I can stop the streaming on YouTube.
Okay. वंशाकल्पतरुवश कृपा सिंधु एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा
कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम राम राम.